What's good, YouTube and Twitch? We're live to both, so welcome to the house. Have a seat. For those in the live stream, say hi to your future selves. Let's go ahead and get into this. These are the top 10 decks in contention for the USA WCQ. I think these are the decks that will be tearing it up, doing a very good job. And if your deck's not on it here, let me know why you think it should be in the top 10 ahead of these decks. I don't think many of these should be knocked off of their perch. But in honorable mentions, just to have a few, we always have 3 of them. Prank Kids have really shaken up the scene before. They're a really good OTK deck, but there's a lot of other really good OTK decks on the outside looking in, like Crusadia, that I don't think make the top 10 decks for the WCQ. So, that being said, I really do feel for them, but they have the almost it factor, and they could surprise us. The Dinosaur engine. I know so many of you guys love this, and it's an amazing engine, but what are you going to mix it with in there? As a pure deck, I don't think it'll be doing it big at the WCQ. You might see one peek into the top cut, but out of that entire top cut of 64, if it goes to 128, maybe 2. 1 per 64 duelist. I just don't see it getting a mass representation. And the other dark horse, my personal favorite, is the Invoked engine, mixing with something, maybe Shaddoll Sky Striker, in order to make it into the top cut. Again, this is outside of the list though. Honorable mention. I think there's definitely consistency issues whenever you're eating up your normal summon with the Invoked engine, and it does have its flaws, but it still has such an amazing damage output against Salamangreat, being able to remove Balinks with Invocation to make a Purgatrio. It has its moments. But in our number 10 slot is Cyber Dragons, actually taking a top cut slot at the WCQ down south. This deck has such potential to not only put up disruption, but also just clear through any situation and board. They got extra extenders out of a legendary duelist pack. You got Naster inside of dual power. Everything is going right, I feel like, for the Cyber Dragon deck, and I think it can take that X element to earn this number 10 spot in order to go to the WCQ, show up, do it big, and do it right. In the number 9 position, it keeps peaking up into top cuts ever since its inception, and gets abused in Orcus decks. It's Trickstars, but I think Trickstar as a deck by itself has so much going for it right now. With Trap Trick, you can go into Artifact, Sanctum, or Scythe. If you already have the Sanctum, you can go into something else. And you also have Light Stage. So many decks are concentrating on back row, and Light Stage gives you this access in order to not only tutor out cards from your deck, but block down those back rows. So if you're facing something like a Mystic Mind deck, you're able to force the back row. So many of the top decks have negates built into them that we're going to get into later on this list. And this just goes, I'm going to do that now. You're going to have to. You're going to have to go ahead and get through this early, or it's going to get destroyed and locked down. So Trickstar still having this tool at 3 in the TCG really does give it an edge and possibility. We're looking for you, Team Bortle. In the number 8 position, I don't think DZ's favorite deck has really fallen off all too hard. Altergeist, I think, could really take things by surprise. As formats become more developed and refined, they start to prepare for matchups that have been topping over and over. And Altergeist, while certain decks do have that natural, Denko second the side that they really cringe against, they can still set up for Denko with Silk and other such cards. You have the ability to still play Floodgates, one of the few decks that really is versed in them. So I think Altergeist, more so than a lot of the other back row decks besides our next position, have a really good chance to shake things up and reclaim the throne. Not too long ago, this was winning a YCS, so I could just see it potentially, and that's why it rests here in our number 8 position. But in our number 7 position is Subterrors. Subterrors just do it a little better. While if you're playing an Altergeist match, it's somewhat 50-50 between Subterrors and Altergeist. Against the rest of the meta, they just have better in-house options for resources, for being able to deal with the format's problems, and they've been consistently taking just chunks of top cut here and there. But it's gone back a little. Since the introduction of Mystic Mind, other decks just do back row a little bit better, or deal with back row a little bit better. And having counter traps in multiple of the top decks also severely hurts the back and forth aspect that Guru Control tries to force you into, and Altergeist similarly suffers. And one such deck that really forces them out of their comfort zone in our number 6 position is True Draco. This also helps keep all the back row decks just at bay. You're still able to tribute those True Draco traps. How long has this deck been topping, by the way? And it only gets better. But I think some of the X factors are, you don't rely on extravagance like all the decks we just showed you. Trickstar, Altergeist, Guru Control, all relying on a pot of extravagance. You have good old card demise, drawing 3 instead. You have your in-house draw power. You have everything going, but you also have the ability to shut down monsters with Inspector Border, one of the few decks that can just play this and not care about the advantage. So you have the ability to deal with back row in-house, and then you have this outside ability to draw into for your regular normal summon that really deals with a lot of the rest of the format and is very hard to shut down. And our number 5 position, I think it's the sleeper truly to win. I think out of the big 4, it gets left out of the conversation too much. And at one of the European WCQs, it really showed up, even topping more than Sky Strikers. It's Pendulums. Endymion brought a new level to Pendulums completely. Spell counters mattering again really feels good, man, to me. Bringing back that old mechanic, and it's nice. So mixing in with the Mythical Beast, mixing in with a Morphage, so many past strategies suddenly come out of the woodwork that people are unprepared for. I could even see something that maybe even, the game plan not thinking of, and perhaps taking people by surprise. You have the Zephyr variants, which have kind of fallen to the back. You have the Guard Dragon variants, which realistically are putting out some of the best negates through Agripane, LP going into deck. You have so many disruptions and all these crazy things, but realistically, it's one of the decks that really does do it the best. It puts the most back and forth all out there on the field, stronger than any deck, because a lot of the newer decks in the top focus on recursion outside of one more that's ahead. And in the number 4 position is still Sky Strikers. That Bay Ray, she's still doing it despite Hayate getting hit on that list. Or Kagari, my bad. Hayate maybe in the future. But it's still just so good. And being able to abuse Mystic Mind, perhaps better than any of the top decks, with Hayate being able to attack direct over and over again, it's big problems. It really is. They're so good with their advantage, and I almost want to put them higher, but I feel like they now suffer a couple of consistency issues and resource problems with that Kagari to 1, which is why they end up here. I almost wanted to inch Pendulums just a little bit ahead back into the top 4, but this is how it is for this format. And the number 3 position is Salamangreats. You already know them. They're able to use Roar. They're able to pop things on the field, negate things, recurrence, bounce things, put out massive damage turn 2. It's a deck that really has everything going for it, but as people adapted to it, as people have gotten better against it, I think it's falling to this number 3 position because of what the number 1 deck does to it. And our number 2 position is Danger Thunder Dragons, finally getting its win, but falling to number 2 on this list too, like the old meme. Jesse Cotton really proved that there's an X factor to this deck, be it a prize card or anything. Chaos Emperor Dragon really does lend to this deck. It is a usable card for the deck that brings it to another level, and of course, you're able to abuse that all-important Guard Dragon engine to put out negates and interruptions. It's the other deck I mentioned in this top cut that really puts it all out there, though. While you have a couple resources in hands from time to time, you're putting your Colossus on the board, you're putting your negates on the board, you're really trying to put it out and have them deal with it, which also makes it pretty resilient in trying to break boards as well, because it's able to do so much moving forward. But Lancia is one of the very top-sided cards, not only for this deck, but also our number 1 deck, Orcus. I think an Orcus variant is taking the WCQ. I think it's going to happen. Orcus was already taking down a YCS before the upgrades that it got through Dingirsu, its new negate, and its resource game really just does it better than Salamangreats. It does. Its ability to recur, to put out so much pressure using Rusty Bardiche, one of the top tier cards basically of all time, it really does it well, and I think that above all the other decks, Orcus is not only going to take the top chunk of Top Cut, but be able to take it all down. But that's just my call on it. Realistically, any of these decks in the top 10 could perhaps pierce the heavens, and even rogue decks could pierce the heavens and take down the WCQ. What deck do you guys think is going to do it? And this could be Solomon Great's last hurrah. Much like Domain Monarchs, it's gotten another format relatively untouched. I think the ban list is going to shape it up after, so I would be proud if Salad Boys were able to do it as another box in the top with Phantasmes and a bunch of expensive cards, unlike Domain Monarchs. But seriously, Thunders, you've got the prize cards mixing in. That's a huge advantage for anyone with it going in. And just so many great decks. But I think an Orcus variant is what we're looking at, taking it all down. Again, let me know what you guys think. Yes, Dinos, honorable mentions. I know. I put them out of the top 10. The YouTube commenters are going to be very angry about that. But thank you so much for watching. If you're ever shopping TCG Player, please use that link down below when shopping. The very first link in the description. It actually supports me, and it costs you nothing. And subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation. And thank you so much for watching.